They presented me an alien bride. I was stunned when I saw she was a monarch. The shuttle bay of ISS Covenant smelled like recycled air and political tension. Ethan Cross stood at attention in his dress uniform, midnight blue with gold piping, the flag of Earth stitched above his left breast, and tried not to sweat through it. Beside him, Ambassador Reyes was whispering last-minute protocol reminders into his ear. Don't make direct eye contact for more than 3 seconds. Don't bare your teeth. Smiling reads as aggression in Varen culture. And for the love of all that is holy, Ethan, do not crack a joke. I never crack jokes, Ethan said. You introduced yourself to the Keth delegation by asking if their translator was broken because they all said the same thing. That was a legitimate question. Ambassador Reyes closed her eyes briefly, the way a person does when they're deciding whether to pray or simply accept their fate. The arrangement had been simple enough, at least on paper. The Varen Collective, a civilization spanning 11 star systems, ancient beyond human reckoning, had proposed a union bonding. In their culture, alliances between civilizations were formalized not through treaties alone, but through the joining of representatives. A symbolic marriage. A living contract. Earth had been given 3 weeks' notice. They'd nominated Ethan Cross because he was the best they had. Former UNSC Special Operations, fluent in 4 languages, decorated for first contact field work on Proxima Station. He was steady, smart, and had a face that people tended to trust, which, in diplomacy, was half the battle. What nobody had told him, what nobody apparently knew, was the rank of the Varen representative. The bay doors opened. The Varen delegation entered in a column, 12 figures in layered ceremonial armor, the color of deep ocean at night. Their biology was roughly humanoid, bipedal, bilaterally symmetric, but their features were sharper, more angular, like someone had sculpted a person and then refined every line twice. Their skin held a faint iridescent shimmer, catching light the way a dragonfly's wing does. Ethan kept his expression neutral. Professional. He'd seen stranger. Then the column parted. And she walked through. Even before he processed the details, his brain registered the magnitude of her. It wasn't physical size, she was perhaps 2 inches taller than him, slender by Varen standards. It was something in how the air around her seemed to organize itself differently, how the other Varens angled their bodies toward her the way flowers track the sun. She wore a crown that wasn't a crown, more like a structure of living light that hovered above her silver-white hair, pulsing gently with each step. Ethan's mind ran the cultural database entries he'd memorized in 3 weeks of crash course preparation. Circling luminance above the head, reserved exclusively for the sovereign caste. He heard Ambassador Reyes make a sound beside him. Not a word. Just a small, strangled noise that meant everything had just changed. The Varen envoy, who Ethan now recognized as a herald, not a representative, stepped forward and spoke in flawless English, the translation implant in Ethan's ear going silent because it wasn't needed. By the accord of open stars and the laws of the Deep Compact, the Varen Collective presents to the people of Earth their bonding representative. A precise pause. Her eternal radiance, Queen Lyra Vera. Sovereign of the 11 systems. The living treaty. The last and first voice of the collective. Silence. Absolute, ringing silence. Ethan Cross, soldier, diplomat, man who had once negotiated a hostage situation using only a chess metaphor and a granola bar, had absolutely nothing in his mental toolkit for this moment. Queen Lyra Vera stepped forward, and her eyes found his. They were extraordinary eyes, pale silver irises with concentric rings of gold, unblinking in the Varen way, carrying in them the particular quality of someone who had been making decisions that shaped civilizations since before Ethan's great-great-grandmother was born. She looked at him the way you look at something unexpected. Not with contempt. With assessment. You are the human representative, she said. Her voice was measured, resonant, carrying a faint harmonic undertone that the translation tech couldn't replicate because it wasn't language, it was authority, baked into the biology. Ethan Cross, he said. Then, because his brain had apparently decided that honesty was the only available gear, I didn't know you were the queen. A murmur rippled through the Varen delegation. Lyra's head tilted, very slightly. Does that change your willingness to proceed? Ethan thought about this seriously. He thought about Earth, the small, young, loud, chaotic Earth, with its 7 billion opinions and its history of stumbling forward through the dark and somehow, improbably, surviving anyway. He thought about what it meant for a species barely 2 centuries out of their home system to be standing here, being offered an alliance with a civilization that had been sailing the stars when humans were still arguing about fire. He thought about the fact that the most powerful monarch in 11 star systems had come here herself. Not a delegate. Not a representative. Herself. That meant something. In any culture, in any language, showing up in person meant something. No, he said. It doesn't change anything. Another murmur. Different tone this time. Lyra studied him. The civilizations who have bonded with the collective before, they sent their highest available. Generals. Chancellors. The Dravari sent their crown prince. Something shifted in her expression, not quite readable. Earth sent a soldier. Earth sent its best diplomat, Ambassador Reyes said quietly, from 2 steps behind him. Who is also a soldier, Lyra observed. Who is also a soldier, Ethan agreed. We're a young species. Our diplomats tend to come with some field experience. For the first time, something moved at the corner of Lyra's mouth. It wasn't a smile, she knew smiling read as aggression to Varens, but it was something. A recognition, maybe. An acknowledgement that he'd done his homework and hadn't wasted it. The bonding ceremony requires 3 days of the right of speaking, she said. In that time, we will speak truth to one another. Unmediated. No translators. No advisors. No protocol. Her silver eyes held steady on his. Many representatives have found this difficult. I've been in worse situations, Ethan said. You have never been in a situation like this. Probably not, he admitted. But here's the thing about humans, Your Majesty. He said the title carefully, correctly, he'd memorized the Varen form of address, the precise formulation that carried respect without submission. We're not good at everything. We're not the oldest, or the strongest, or the most advanced. But we show up. And when we commit to something, we mean it. Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Around her, the Varen delegation had gone very still in the way that, Ethan was beginning to understand, meant something significant was happening. The Dravari Crown Prince, she said finally, lasted 4 hours into the first day of speaking before requesting a procedural delay. Did he get it? No. Did the alliance happen? No. Ethan nodded slowly. Then I guess we'd better do this right. Something settled in the space between them. Not comfort, not yet. But the beginning of a possibility. 2 people, impossibly different in origin and age and the weight they carried, standing at the edge of something that neither of their peoples had ever attempted. Lyra inclined her head. The gesture, Ethan knew from his briefings, was not a bow. It was an acknowledgement between equals. He inclined his head back. Behind him, Ambassador Reyes exhaled a breath she'd been holding, he suspected, for about 4 minutes. The right of speaking lasted 3 days and 4 hours. What was said in those sessions was never recorded, that was the point of the right. Truth spoken outside of record. Truth that could not be weaponized, could not be archived, could not be turned into leverage. What the historical record did show was that the union bonding between Earth and the Varen collective was ratified on the 4th day, witnessed by 12 systems. What the record also showed, noted with characteristic Varen precision, was that this was the first bonding in recorded Varen history in which both parties arrived at the final ceremony having laughed, actually laughed, in the human sense, at least once. The Varen archivists marked it as an anomaly. Queen Lyra Vera, in the margin of the official document, in her own handwriting, wrote 3 words that scholars would spend decades analyzing. They mean it. Ethan Cross, when asked later by a junior reporter what he'd said to make the Queen of 11 star systems laugh, shrugged his shoulders and said it was classified. Ambassador Reyes, standing nearby, closed her eyes. Humanity, it turned out, didn't conquer the stars through firepower or ancient wisdom. They got there the same way they'd always gotten anywhere. By showing up. And meaning it.